Hey everybody, welcome back to Travel Trailer Nation. Today I wanted to talk briefly about what you should probably carry with you if you are traveling on the road with your travel trailer. So, travel trailers are going to break. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it might be something small. It could be a leaking faucet, it could be a leaking drain, or it could be something more major like a broken spring. And you probably want to be prepared for that. I mean, that's why pre-trip inspections are so important. Get under your rig, look at your springs, look at your axles, get on the roof, look at your roof, and you really ought to be on your roof after every trip, just to inspect what's going on. I've heard other RV professionals say at least once a month, even if your trailer is stored, you should be on top of it. So there's a lot to do, and you can find a lot of information on traveltrailernation.com. But I thought briefly I would talk about the things that you should probably carry with you when you're traveling. And I want to say, first of all, don't buy cheap tools, because there's nothing more frustrating than breaking off a bolt or stripping a screw head because you bought some tools at a big box store that were inexpensive. Spend some decent money on good tools. It was once said, if you're gonna buy an instrument for your kid, you should buy the best one that you can, because if they get a cheap instrument and it doesn't sound good, they're probably gonna lose interest in it. And it is basically the same for tools. I mean, the right tool for the right job, but it's gotta be a great tool, or at least a high quality tool. So anyway, that's my warning. I certainly have had experience with cheap tools in the past, and I've always kind of steered clear now, and I want to buy stuff that I know is going to last and it's going to do the job right, and I'm not going to have to worry about that kind of stuff. So let's talk just briefly about the kind of tools that you'd probably like to take with you. And keep in mind, you can get a lot more information on what I carry at traveltrailernation.com. Just go to that site, hit the search button and put in toolbox, and it'll come up with the post where I talked about what you should probably think about taking. My stuff is in here right now, and I'm in my shop at my bar. We're getting ready to go to Tyler State Park, and I wanted to keep this stuff in here because one thing that you should be aware of is if you're carrying tools that have batteries, like my impact driver, my drill, when you start talking about 100-degree heat here in North Texas, that's devastating for batteries. So I typically don't load these up until maybe a half an hour before we're ready to pull out of the driveway. And typically, like this, the impact driver, I'll put in the back seat of the truck so it's cool. The rigid electric drill, which I basically ordinarily only use for raising and lowering the jacks, although it has a ton more uses. If you need to drill out a broken bolt or something like that, you're gonna need that. I also take, this is a torque wrench that's in inch pounds and a small set of sockets. And that's typically for things like the air conditioner bolts. We learned our lesson I think in 2017 when they had neglected to tighten our air conditioner gasket down at the factory, and we ended up in a storm inside the trailer, and I ended up having to tighten the bolts down myself. So that's something you should inspect every year. But anyway, I take it. Not always, but most of the time, especially if it's a long trip. Also have a good screwdriver set, a good wrench set. Take a regular torque wrench so you guys can torque your wheel nuts, make sure that everything's good there, and don't forget your suspension. My bolts that go to my suspension, like my springs and my MORide, are 40 foot-pounds, so I typically check that as well. I'm also carrying impact drivers in here. I'm carrying things that I might or might not need on any trip. Such as like waggle, wire connectors, wire stripper. I also have an infrared gun in here that I'll pull out and put in the truck so that when we're at waysides or at a gas station, I can put them and check every hub and make sure that I'm not overheated on anything. I also have my tire minder that should alert me of that, but I'm a little paranoid, so I'll take it out and I'll just scope around the trailer as I go. I also have a multimeter that I take. You never know when you're going to need it. So there's just a lot of tools that you should carry. And I know you're always thinking, well, it'll be something smaller, it's something that can wait at the campground. Well, we've been in that position before. We've ended up having to replace a motor on our Schwintek at a campground on a Friday night when no one was available to come out. And fortunately, I could order one on Amazon, have it delivered to the campground, and then we fixed it the next day because no one was willing to come out and do it. So you kind of got to be ready for that kind of stuff. I carry a spare Schwintek motor now. I actually have 2 spares, but you know, you never know what's going to happen, and you should be prepared for it. And that's why I went with you know, an impact driver. I've got the drill, I've got the torque wrenches, I've got all the sockets, and I've got a caulk gun, and I've got sealer, and I've got a Turnabond tape. These are all things that are probably necessary as you travel. If you want more information and a more definitive list, please go to traveltrailer.com and do a search on toolbox, and that will bring up the whole list of what I carry. And until I see you next time, safe travels.